Hello and welcome back to episode 13 of the MotoGP Tips and Tricks series. In today's episode, as you will see by the title, I am showing off how to make setups for yourselves. As I mentioned in many of my videos, a setup is very personal. A setup that works for you might not work for me and vice versa, so I can make as many setup videos giving you my setups and explaining what I do in certain places, but until you figure out how to use your own setups and build your own ones, you're never going to feel perfect. So that's what I'm going to go do today. I'm going to go through a full process from start to finish of a new bike on a track, setting it up and using every inch and ounce of experience I can to make it as easy as possible so you can follow it at home. So let's jump over to the pits. So here we are in the Jerez pit, and you can see, of course, we are as Valentino Rossi on the beautiful Repsol livery of 2003, the Valencia GP, on his RC21V. It was a one-off livery for the end of a brilliant partnership, but that's not what we're here for today. We're here for the setup. So my first basic step, the first thing I'll do for all setups if I'm starting from a new, so just first before I get into why I didn't go with the current GP bikes, is I have pretty much a setup for all of them. So if I ride it, I'm going to go, okay, I need to change this, I need to change that. It's going to be a bit scripted, whereas I've actually never ridden these and I've never done setups, so it's going to be a learning. It'll be realistic. I'll actually have to make a setup based on what's going on screen, and not because I know this is what I want, because this is the way I like it. This will feel all different to me. So just a quick disclaimer, that's why I didn't use Rossi's current bike or Marquez or whatever. So I've gone with the older bikes because they do handle slightly different, so I do imagine the setup will be slightly different. But anyway, going back to my first step is ride 5 laps of the track with the bike completely stock on medium tyres with the electronics completely wound up. So traction 5, anti-wheelie 5, engine brake 5 and power 2, everything as the bike is given to you by the game. So we're going to cut to that now. My 5 laps are here. So you join me here on the 5th and final lap, just at the start. The reason behind the 5 laps is every time you go onto a track, you need to get into your rhythm, you need to get up to speed with the track and the bike. So most importantly, when you do your 5 laps, is that you're trying to get an idea of where the track goes, find your braking markers for this class of bike, and already have a good base idea of what time you can do. The worst thing you can do is jump onto a track, do 1 lap and go, okay, the bike is really understeery, because that lap you broke 10 feet too late into 6 of the 7 corners that were left-handers, and then you go, okay, I have to make the bike turn better, when in theory the bike is turning great. You actually need a small bit better braking stability, and you go completely down the wrong hole. You end up going completely off track, and then you go and try and make the bike turn more and more. It gets more and more unstable. It increases the instability under braking, and then you actually are getting slower, and you're like, why is it not working? The bike needs to turn more. I'm making it turn more, but the bike's getting slower and slower. So the 5 laps are mainly just so you can get into a rhythm and understand, okay, I've done this corner 5 times, and every time I come here, as I get into the brakes and tip in, the bike wants to go sideways. I need to address that. So you have a good base understanding of what the bike is doing, where you need to improve, and what you like. So coming into the corner now for the last of 5 laps up to the line, we can see we're going to improve a massive 1.4, maybe just 1.4 for now. So next clip you'll see here in a second, you'll see we've wound the traction down and the anti-wheelie down. So once again, pretty much the same. I felt that the bike was being held way too back. So every time, Jerez is along corners, a lot of kind of on the edge of the tyre, kind of pick up the throttle gradually. So I felt like the traction was really hampering my lap time through the long corners. So instantly step 1 was to find out your electronics. That's step 2 of the setup. Step 1 is your 5 laps, but your first actual adjustment to the setup is the electronics. Once you get a good base of electronics, they don't change. If you go changing suspension, you don't need to adjust your traction or anti-wheelie. They all stay the same. So get the easy stuff out of the way. So I picked 3 for this for the traction and 4 for anti-wheelie, and pretty happy with that. So you can see I'm up by 0.8 again, so a massive chunk of time. Also, I did say it in the pits to go for a medium tyre, and the reason behind the medium tyre is soft will overheat, so you won't get 5 laps in a row. So that was the one reason. And also, it doesn't give peak performance, but it doesn't give any issues really with temperature. So you can do consistent laps and you can get an idea of where you need to improve and what actually is going wrong, and you can find the solutions without the tires throwing you off. A lot of times with setups, like I mentioned a minute ago, things happen and you think there's a reason for it, but actually you just need to you can make your own mistakes when making setups and get lost. That's why a lot of people shy away from, because they're just not confident. But you can see up to line 1.2 just by adjusting the electronics, and made a big step forward. Now on them laps, I was noticing the bike was very unstable on the braking, so I made the wheelbase slightly longer, just showing off theirs on the medium tires. And for front suspension, I'm going to basically drop the front suspension down and I'm going to extend it. So what I mean by that is I'm going to take everything, all the stiffness and the compression out of it, I'm going to make the fork long, so I'll have a long stroke. That for me will make the bike just turn in a bit nicer and give me a nicer front end. Now the gearing is pretty perfect for this track, so you won't be seeing me adjust that in the video. And this will be basically my final lap. This will be go and show you again. There will be one lap after this where I'll really push for a lap and you'll see the lap time then. But anyway, here we are for lap 8. So I pretty much have gone from the base bike to a pretty decent race and qualifying. The bike is very stable after this setup change I made in this in the previous clip you would have seen. So 8 laps is all it took. It didn't take me hours. So you can see already much better into turn 1. We've made up 2.5 tenths in one turn, just in having a stable front end. Bike's a bit more responsive. Again, I have a lot more power through the corners with the less traction. Can really push the bike. Now you can see now through these long corners, I can really pick the bike up and drift it up by 2 tenths through sector 1. So again, just running out wide here using all of the edge grip, picking the bike up and getting it then on the fat piece of the tyre and down the back straight. So again, made up a nice 1/10.5 or 2 in that little sector there. Into the late braking here now, we do make up a serious bit of time here. Look how much time on the delta we made up just by increasing our braking, about 1/10.5, 2 tenths possibly. Then coming into this lovely fast left hander here, turn 7, flat out of here, then picking up as early as you possibly can. You can see we're just gaining time through here with the small little adjustments we made to the setup previous. So into the stadium section we come now, and I know on this lap here I did make a mistake, so I was aware that my next lap, which was my real push lap to see what I could get out of the bike, I had time on the track there. So coming into now the final sector of the track, we are up by 0.6, so we are flying it. We should be on for a low 36, and into the final corner we come, using all of the track on the outside, back down to first and picking up. We're coming out of the last corner with just over 8 tenths, just pretty much bang on 8 tenths. It's going to just under 8 tenths of a improvement, so huge difference again. So each lap we found so much time. Now it's pretty hard to keep doing that. Eventually you will plateau and you will start to take a tenth or 2 off. But here is my fast lap. This was lap 9. This was my full send lap. So I'm just going to run you through this one. So on the left there, the orange arm curve is where you're braking. See, the bike is a lot more free. If you watch the first few lap 5 where I showed you my full lap with all the electronics turned up and that, the bike's very kind of dead. It doesn't see any more rotation or anything out of it. Whereas you're watching this lap now, the bike is always on the move, it's always doing something, so it's working for me. I'm making the bike work underneath. You can see, look at drifting there, the rear and pumping. And when on the brakes here, you can see again the rear shock at the back doing a lot of work. I'm up by 2.5 tenths into the middle sector. We come using all of the track there on the exit of turn 5, I think it is, down into Pedrosa corner. Hard on the brakes again. You can see using all of the inside curb there into number 6 Pedrosa corner. Flicking on it, third gear, just throwing the bike, and I have so much confidence in this bike now after adjusting it and making it my own. And on this last lap here now, we are aiming to jump down into the 35s if we can. We know we have time here, so we're going to just drift. You can see the back end coming around, sliding it into Nieto corner in the stadium section. tad bit wide there myself, but we picked up and squared off a small bit of a wheelie. So it looks like the electronics doing the job to a peak. Now through Ferrari we come flat out then to the final corner, where you'll just see the bike rotate again, slightly out of line but all under control, and into the last corner squares it off nicely for a very good exit, and it's going to be up to the line. It's going to be 4.5, 5 tenths. We'll just dip down into a 1:35.9, which, as you can see, put us second on the global leaders, just as load. So I didn't have the balance performance on, so maybe the M1 Yamaha is quicker. He's a second quicker than me. No doubt I could probably get that lap time if I tried, but that just really showed off exactly how I do all my setups. So that's pretty much, so start off 5 laps, then change your electronics, then go and play with the bike when you realise what's wrong with it. That's all there is to it. So I hope you've enjoyed. I'm going to leave it there. If you have any questions, please comment and ask down below. I can help you as best I can. But it's as simple as that. It took me 9 laps to go from never ridden that bike around the track to second in the world. Now, of course, I am a high level player of the game, would say. So it's not, you're not going to go from being 200 in the world at every other track to second. It's still going to take time, but you will find advantage of using setups. So please let me know how you found this tutorial, if you found it any of use. I think it should be very good for race setups and also the odd qualifying setup. But yeah, I did mention in a previous video I will be starting a league in the coming days, so I will be bringing back my hot lap series, which will give you a setup for most tracks and give you an idea of how to get each track nailed. So look out for that if you are struggling for any independent tracks on their own. So yeah, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you all for watching. I hope you have enjoyed. I hope I have brought a good bit of help to you all. So yeah, I'm going to leave it there. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.